Hi, everybody. This is SAAD. Some of you might remember that a few days ago, I think it was last week, I posted an open letter that a woman of color had written in the McGill Daily, where she was arguing that her whole experience attending McGill was so tainted by virtue of there being white men there. Well, let's blame that on her just being an idiotic intersectional feminist social justice warrior graduate student. I think that's what she was. But now I'm going to read you a letter or an article in the New England Journal of Medicine, arguably the leading medical journal in the world. It is titled Racist Like Me, A Call to Self-Reflection and Action for White Physicians. All white physicians as a group. Replace white physicians by black female physicians or Muslim men and see if that would fly. The New England Journal of Medicine is now allowing this kind of nonsense. Now, in reading this letter, I wanted to bring out a self-flagellating whip because I think there's a lot more effect if you sort of whip yourself as you're reading this, because then it really shows that you are trying to reach a level of piety by self-flagellation. So here we go. It's by Deborah Cohen, MD, PhD, and the one who will be reading it will be Professor Dr. SAAD, BSc, MBA, MS, PhD, former holder of the Concordia University Research Chair in Evolutionary Behavioral Sciences and Darwinian Consumption, because when physicians open their mouth and say hello, they have to list their degrees. So let me squash them with my endless degrees. Here we go. I am a racist. I would love to believe otherwise, and I can find evidence that I'm not. My career dedicated to caring for undeserved women of color, my support of colleagues and trainees who are people of color, my score on the implicit association bullshit test. My mission as a white physician is to be humble and respectful toward my patients, not only as an act of compassion, but as a revolutionary act against racism, elitism, and hierarchy. No, just treat people who have medical illnesses. And yet I am racist, shaped by the sometimes subtle tendrils of white supremacy deeply embedded in our culture. I mean this not as a sanctimonious admission of guilt, no, but as a call to self-reflection and action for us white physicians. Okay, it's starting to actually hurt me, so I'm going to stop. Appalling racial inequities in health exist in nearly every realm that researchers have examined. These inequities are a dramatic manifestation of the structural violence that plagues our society. So, what am I, an obstetrician, doing about the disproportionate burden of maternal mortality and other poor reproductive outcomes among black women? How am I confronting the underlying forces that facilitate increased suffering and death among certain groups because of their skin color? Although it's necessary, it is not enough for me to provide respectful health care to pregnant women of color. It's not enough. She's got to do more. If I truly want to be part of the solution, I need to explore those parts of me that are, okay, I'm bringing back the whip, that are most unwholesome, embarrassing, and generally not discussed in the context of one's career. My goal is to dismantle the insidious thoughts that reinforce a hierarchy based on race, education, and other markers of privilege that separate me from others. These thoughts, fed by implicit bullshit bias, are more common than I find easy to admit. Although I know not to believe everything I think, I also know that thoughts guide attention and attention guides actions. Until I bring to light and hold myself accountable for my own racist tendencies, I am contributing to racism in healthcare. I'm gonna skip a whole bunch of stuff where she says she doesn't sit closely at a bed because the woman is black and so on. That might just mean that she is racist. Not all white physicians need to reflect. At the same time, I've skipped a whole bunch of stuff because it would have been burdensome to read you all the stuff. At the same time, how can I cultivate relationships with others who will hold me accountable and remind me to realign with my values? Although dealing with racism requires solo introspection, it is ultimately a community undertaking in which we listen deeply, humbly, and gratefully to the people who are most affected by racism without burdening people of color with the responsibility for educating those of us who are white. As I wrote this essay, for example, oh, this is good. I consulted many people, mostly people of color, working in the social justice arena, as well as friends and colleagues. They reminded me to prioritize references by people of color, questioned my ego-driven motivations, and prodded me to explore and express myself more transparently. Definitely not patronizing, condescending, or racist towards someone simply because they are white. Humans are inherently adaptable. If we approach this monumental responsibility with humility and hold each other accountable, we can change. In fact, we must change. This is in the New England Journal of Medicine. It is everywhere. It is a cancer of the human spirit. And you must fight it. Don't just watch this clip and write like or say Professor Dr. Gatsad, BSc, MBA, MS, PhD. You're great. Sure, that's true, but do more. Participate, get engaged. Don't sit idly. Don't allow people to patronize you, to be condescending to you, whether you are white, black, purple, yellow, gay, straight, bisexual, binary, non-binary. Individual dignity is what liberates us from the shackles of tribalism. What we are seeing today is a true cancer of the human spirit. I will try my best to address it in every way that I can, and certainly in my forthcoming book. But each of you, when you have children in elementary school, in high school, in university, who come to you with this kind of brainwashing, with this kind of nonsense, where young men are now taught to feel ashamed because they're toxically masculine, where whites are made to feel ashamed because they happen to be born with a lighter skin hue because of something that happened 300 years ago that they have no part of. That's not right. Racism against blacks is bad. Hatred against whites is bad. Any bigotry that is targeted to anyone because of their immutable characteristics is bad, whether they are targeting whites or blacks, browns or purples. Have a good day, everybody. Cheers.